Well, hello there, Whiskey Fabric, and everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Doing a little pre-dram party for the Whiskey Fabric's going to have a get together. It sounds like in about an hour from now. It's going to be 3 Eastern, 2 Central. And I thought I would just have my own little fun with a bottle I've never tried before. It's the Ben Nevis 10-year-old. Haven't really seen a lot of reviews on it. I know recently Malta de Montreal, Swami, good friend, um, did this bottle just actually recently. I didn't even know he was going to do it, but he did a newer bottle, I believe. This is the look of the old bottle, and I believe I was trying to figure out what year this was bottled. It's 46%. It's a Highland, and let's take a look and see. I usually use a flashlight for this. The easiest way to see some of these printouts, serial numbers, things like that. If you shine the light actually from the bottom of the bottle, not directly on this way, it's not going to work that way. But if you shine it on the bottom of the bottle, it really brings out the lettering. And it looks like 099 and then a space 15/083. That has a timestamp of like 8:33. What I'm going to guess that this means this was bottled in 2015, but that is a guess. If anybody knows how to read Ben Nevis serial numbers to get the year, I'd really appreciate to know. But 099 space 15/083, probably 83rd batch or run of that year. I'm guessing, but that's just a guess. And you know what assuming does. It's not always a good thing. But poured it out about, let's see, I guess it's been 15 minutes ago. Just let it air out. I've heard that this is a special offering as far as it's a little stronger than most, which I can appreciate. I like a strong flavor, and you know, it's good to let those air out a bit. 46%, we're going to go in neat. I'm not going to add anything to it initially. And the first nose initially was iodine and medicinal right off the bat. It's been sitting out for a bit. So let's take a little look and see if it's tamed a bit or if it's still the same first two notes I get. Interestingly, it has been tamed a little bit with oxidation just in the 15 minutes. The iodine and the medicinal is still there, but now that toffee caramel is coming forth, and I'm wondering if that might be sulfur that I'm initially getting. I heard this could be a sulfuric type of dram, which some people love, some people hate, kind of like the Bowmore Darkest 15. I like it. I think the balance of the peat and the sulfur go together well. Some people don't like it, but this is a lightly peated whiskey from the Highland region, and so the peat's not going to be as high probably as a Bowmore Darkest 15. So that is a little, I don't want to say scary, but might be a little bit different than what I'm used to. But let's see what else we get off the nose. There's some fruit, some oranges, like and you get the pith, the slightly bitter, almost marmalade kind of thing going on there. It's awfully dark for a 10. I'm suspicious of the coloring. I don't know if it is colored or not, so I'm not going to say that it is or it is not. But it's got a nice color. I'll give them. It's dark amber, but I tell you that's a bit dark for a 10. You would think, but you never know. I was looking at the cask type, and I didn't really see anything. If anyone knows specifically what casks are used for the Ben Nevis 10, specifically we'll say 2016, then I'm interested in learning about it, more of what they're using here. I would say I'm not saying it's sherry cask, but I do think there might be some here. Or if it's not that, I'm getting some really strong wood notes. I guess I should probably say not sherry. More, I think I'm gonna lean more towards oak, heavy oak. It's probably a bourbon cask. If you know, this is all estimations based off the nose I'm getting, but hmm, it's thankfully I can detect some sweetness in there with the sulfuric and medicinal notes. So trying to think if I'm getting anything floral off of it. The sweetness is coming through more, but I don't think I'm getting a vegetal note. Some grapes, white grapes. There might be actually some floral notes. I wouldn't say herbal, but more of a floral lavender running through like a glen, field kind of a. It's the more I'm nosing it, the better it's getting. So that's a good thing. You don't want it to be the opposite. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I've heard mixed reviews as far as just the people that have talked about it. I did not watch Swami's review yet. I am going to watch it after the fact to see how close um, our notes were, even though they're different bottlings. His, I think, is a different one, but see how close or far apart we are. Wow. Okay. It's got the toffee is the first thing I get, a good caramel toffee. The sulfur is there, but it's underneath. It's got a bit of a burn. Did not add anything to it. I might add a couple of drops of water just to take that off a little bit. It's not overwhelming though. Oranges are still there. It's a very orange forward one. I'm just going to take literally just, I mean, not even I call this maybe a few little drops just to show you what I'm doing. That's about it. Just to give it, let it open up a little bit more. 46%, you don't want to damage the goods. You don't want to, go overboard because once you pour your, even if you pour a small dram, and I consider this a medium size, once you pour it, and if you ruin it, you ruin it. There's no, I guess you could add more from the bottle and even it out. So, but if it's getting towards the end, once you pour it, you're, done. Oh, wow. Let that air out just a little bit more before we go back in. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. Appreciate it. And hopefully you'll stick around. I think around 3 Eastern, 2 Central, the Whiskey Fabric's going to have more of a round table get together. And I thought this would be a good time just to have a pre-dram with everybody and try something completely new, completely outside of my wheelhouse. I'm more of the Isla, Campbelltown kind of guy. Peat smoke, more on the smoke end. There is a little peat here, but it's more of a smoke flavor on the nose. I think I was getting that initially though, but the sulfur without the water, I think, was overpowering the smoke a little bit initially when I was going for the nose. Hmm. I'm hoping that water brings out a little more of the sweetness to balance out the orange on the fruit. But hopefully the smoke will not dissipate too much. And so far, so good. Hmm. That burn is a little less, which is what we're going for. Not losing the toffee or the orange or the medicinal or the sulfuric notes to it. Still does have a little burn edge to it, which isn't bad necessarily. This is a good a good opening dram, I think, is it's not overly peated, overly smoked. It's not gonna obliterate your taste buds. So if you're going in for another 2 or 3 drams later, it's but it's flavorful enough to get you flowing, get your senses of woke, woken up. Hey, thanks for coming by, Casper and Swami. Swami, I was just talking about, if you missed it earlier, that you just did this guy recently. I think you had a different bottling of this. I think you had a newer one. I bought this one, and I believe I'm not sure if you've done the serial check on it, but the numbers, I'm guessing it's a 2015. So far, so good. The sulfur is there. It's a little strong on that end, but I'm enjoying it. So not scoring it yet. To me, you have to be in the mood for medicinal plus sulfur smoke mix. The oranges really balance it out really well, I think. Might be some apples in there too. The more oxidation is occurring, the better it's getting, actually. Even though this is only a 10-year, this is one of those drams I probably would leave out for 15, 20 minutes before I'd even touch it. I know it sounds insane for a younger whiskey, but I think the oxidation does help this a little bit. Because I do like the sulfur, I do like those medicinal notes, but sometimes I want them to be a little bit lower. Might even be some chocolate in there. The finish is like it's not overly dry. Dark chocolate, coffee bean type thing. I think the coffee bean is comes from a bitterness, but it's not an unpleasant bitterness. It's a nice mix, man. This is a nice dram, actually. Wow. Swami says it's a pungent beast. I love it. Yeah, yeah. I can see where you're going with that. It's surprisingly a stronger, better flavor than I initially expected to get. This being 10-year, it's like, wow, I've gotten less flavor out of a 12, 18-year-old whiskey. So these guys are doing something like, I hear they have a 15. I'd love to try it. I don't know if it's only independent bottled or if it's like a special bottling, but I have heard that there's a 15 version out there somewhere. I got to take a look for that, because this is nice. I'm debating on the score. I usually do mine out of 5 out of 0.25 increments. It's definitely above a 3 right out of the gate, but man, you really have to be in the mood for some really strong flavor. It's complex for a 10-year. I also thought it was going to be like, usually when you go to your 10, 12 years, you get 3 or 4 really good notes. They blend well together, they work in harmony, everyone's happy, and then you move on to the next dram. But this guy, for a 10-year, has literally 6, 7 things going on. All those elements I was speaking of earlier, and with the bitter end and the finish, and how it all works together. The sweet, the brine, it's got a little maritime, but it's mostly medicinal notes going in there with the floral. It's a really well balanced, but you do have to let it sit out for a bit. I did, at least from my experience. Hey, Swami, no problem. So you got to run, but if you're still around, let me know if you think the color is a little dark for a 10. I was a little suspicious, but you never know with these, casks. I also would love to know what casks are used for this, because it's a very unique experience. I've never had a Highland or an Isla or Cameltown, any region that is like this. I know these guys are owned by Nika, Japanese distiller. They have been so, I think, since the late 80s, from what I was reading. I was trying to do a little research before I got started on how it went. And there's not a lot of information other than that out there as far as, you know, I know Ben Nevis is a mountain out in Scotland. It's about, I think it's about 4,000, 4,500 feet. I might be off, but I think that's what I remember seeing. High elevation. Wonder what they use for warehouses too. It's got some funk going on, but it's not, overly funky. Good mix. Definitely do not overwater this dram. Just a couple drops. Sit out for 15, 20 minutes, couple drops, and you are smooth sailing. I'm enjoying it so much, I think I might pour a little more. And I'm really interested in seeing what the new bottle is like. So I'm going to do my best to get a newer version of this puppy. I believe it still goes for 65 to 70, I think is the price on it. For 10-year, you might be thinking that's a bit high, but I would put this up with the pleasant experience of a Springbank 10. So in Springbank 10 is about similar, $70. You get what you paid for a lot of the time, and I don't know. I do like the smoke on this a lot. I might just add a couple drops too, just to be safe. Well, thanks so much, guys, for stopping by. Hope you're going to stick around for the Whiskey Fabric. Looks like Casper and oh, hey, Welsh, good to see you. Telex, you like Isla Distilleries, right? Yeah, Casper, that's my main wheelhouse. My favorite is probably, I want to say, it's a tie, really, between Laphroaig and Ardbeg. Lagavulin is a close second. Kalila, Bowmore, Bunnahabhain is probably a little up. I'd say they're probably like a 4, even though they're not peated. I appreciate what they do with their flavor, their power. Trying to think of anybody else I'm missing. There's a couple new ones coming in. I'm looking forward to trying the new Ardmore, not Ardmore. What is it? Ardnahoe. Sorry, Ardnahoe. That's the new Isla Distillery. It's coming, and another one got their license sorted out recently too. Oh my! I haven't read about them in a while though, so I cannot. The name of it's right, not in my head. But as far as why on the Ardbeg and Laphroaig, Lagavulin's third to me, or second, I should say, since the top two are Laphroaig and Ardbeg, because Lagavulin is owned by Diageo, as you know, most likely. They do not risk a lot on doing things outside the box. They do have a nice, and you can see it back here, an 8, a 12, a 16, and a Distiller's Edition. Those 4 are their bread and butter. They occasionally have a jazz festival or a festival offering, but that's pretty much all you can get from Lagavulin. What I like about Laphroaig and Ardbeg is, even though I'm not a huge fan of the NAS just for the sake of getting product out NAS, Laphroaig and Ardbeg are great about taking their core, their 10, whether it be cask strength or regular, and trying different casks out. Manzanilla cask, like for example for the Ardbog. Trying to think. For the Freud, like they have a QA, which is Crocus Alba, vanilla type note cask. They have a PX cask, Pedro Ximenez, heavily influenced by the sherry. They have their Carriages series, which has been around since I believe at least the mid 2000s, maybe even before that, 98 maybe. But I've had everything from 2014 on Madeira cask, Amontillado cask. They have a port wine cask I'd love to try. I haven't tried the 20. I want to say it's 13 portwood carriages, but I have had the quarter cask from this year. The last one was this Madeira. I'm trying to remember what the 2015 was. It was a special 200th anniversary edition of that. But they just, in a nutshell, they have a lot of different offerings to choose from, and they're always really good. The only Lefroy that I've ever had that was a bit so, not really into it was the Select, which thankfully is not a pricey bottle. I think it's good to get people into Lefroy. If you've never had a Lefroy and you don't want to jump in the 10 cask strength, the quarter cask, maybe offer a friend the Select just to see what their first experience is like. And if they have a good relationship with the peat, then maybe give them something a little more like a QA cask is a good mild one. Or I'm looking over to try to see if any other ones. The quarter cask is pretty good too, as I think as a second dram. The Lore is the best balanced one of all of them. It has a lot of old and new whiskey blended in, and I've never heard a bad review on the Lore really by any peat or sherry fan that I can think of. So, but it is I think $110 to $130 depending on where you are. So it is not a cheap bottle. But anyway, but I also really like Springbank for Campbelltown. I'm a Campbelltown guy now too, because after trying Springbank, I went to Glengyle and tried the Kilkerran. I've got the Kilkerran 12 and the work in progress. Sherrywood, I just did. Let's check out an older video. Just did on that one. Really, really good. Haven't done the Hazelburn Long Row yet. I'm going to do that next. And I've also tried Glen Scotia, which is the third active distillery in Campbelltown still. And they've made a comeback here recently. I think 2015 is when they started doing rebranding. I've done the double cask, which is very sweet dram. It's good if you're in the mood for sweet dram, but also their 15, which is very complex, very good, and very well priced. So I would highly recommend it. Have not tried their other years, and I've heard mixed reviews on their other years. That could be a crapshoot, but I think you would not go wrong with the 15 at least for the Glen Scotia. So all roads lead to Isla, and now we'll say all roads also lead to Campbelltown. So, but for Highland, going back to the Ben Nevis 10, this is a pleasant whiskey. I've let it air out a bit. I put a little more in the glass, put a couple of drops of water in, and I'm going to have another swish. Casper says that he loves the Lagavulin 8, but must have been fallen in love with Ardbeg. Got the 10 yesterday and found it so amazing. Well, Casper, if you like the Ardbeg 10, my friend, you're going to love every offering they have. I've never had a bad Ardbeg. The 10 to me is a little because only it's got the lime and the lemon in there. I'm not a big fan of lemon lime flavor. But when I did the Ugadal, awesome smoky sherry dram, it's probably my top 3 glasses of all Scotch. Corey of Reckon's a good one too, but you got to be in mood for something peppery, a little more spicy, more leaning towards the Talisker kind of thing, which I do enjoy, but I have to be in the mood for it. The New NO is a sweet dram. It's smoky. It's more of an ashtray smoke than a Ugadal smoke. It's not a deep round smoke. It's more of like a real ashy finish type of dram. Peat with sweet. Some people love it. Some people not so much. And then, of course, a lot of their NASs. Years, every year has like the Dark Cove. I highly recommend if you get the committee release. The regular release is good, but not as good. The Kelpies, both of them to me were really good. Those are from this year. And if you have an option to find the Era Veritas, I've got a bottle of it. I haven't opened it yet. I will be doing a review on that soon. I've heard it's good. It's trying to think of what year that was. I want to say 2014, but don't quote me on it. Perpetuum is a good smoke without the lemon lime. little stronger. I think it's trying to remember the percentage of it. It's not your typical 43, 46%. It's at least 48, if not higher, I believe. Man, it's just hard to go wrong with any Ardbeg, I think. And they have a new one, and I saw some information on it that was pre-released. I don't know if it was a leak or what, but they were calling it Ardbeg Grooves. I don't like the name. The bottling is a little colorful. If it tastes good, though, I don't care really, what it looks like. But I think that's going to be this year's special bottling, kind of like the 2017's Kelpie. I think 2018 is going to be the Grooves, but you never know. They might have some fallout from response from the names. They might change it, but the graphics were already done, so I don't know if that'll be changed. But it'll be interesting. I would definitely recommend check out the lore. It's by and far, if you're a peat head, if you like the peat, the lore is a great offering. Now, I wish they still had the 15 and 18. I've been looking for a Laphroaig 15 and 18. I think I might have found a way to get one of them, but they're getting pricey the longer time goes by, with them being not produced any longer. And I'm sure it's because of demand. They have just enough old school stuff to make the lore, blend some good new stuff with it, and you can see where they're going. But hopefully they can ramp up enough production to get the 15 and the 18 back out, because the only other year besides the 10 that I've seen readily available, sadly, is like I want to say a 25, a 32, 27. That's about it on the Laphroaig years. They used to have even 11 special release back in the day, and that's a bottle that's really rare, that if you ever see it, definitely buy it, because it's worth a pretty penny on an auction nowadays. Oh, mine. I definitely recommend this Ben Nevis 10, though. Got to respect a nice strong flavor, though. If you're more into the milder whiskeys, like your Glenmorangie G10s or your Dalwhinnie 15s, things like that, you're not going to probably like it as much. But if you like a strong flavor, highly recommend it. Let's see how we're doing on time. Well, it's about 2:30, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it up, and so people can get ready for the 3 o'clock show. And shout out to those guys. Hopefully I'll get enough subscribers to be invited to the next year's one. If you like, please subscribe. And it's always fun just to hang out and have a dram. That's what it's all about anyway. I'm looking forward to doing a few back here that you probably could see on the counter. There's a Glen Turret. It's an 11-year from Gordon MacPhail's. There's a Tormore 21. That's a Barry's independent bottling. There's an Alexander Murray independent bottling of a 21-year-old Glen Keith back there. And there's also a Kilchoman red wine cask that I'd love to get open maybe next after this guy. We'll see how it goes. And there's a lot more where that came from in the future. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Have a good time, and Sláinte mhath.